So this is more than a presentation, it's sort of a chat about VR, the future, and psychedelics. What?
Did you get the pills? They're samples, right?
They were already in your breakfast. Basically, our original idea was just to have discussion in two parts. One is, more abstract, sort of philosophical discussion that's tied about VR and psychedelics and different experiences and things. And then a second part, which has to do with what we're doing as a company, as a VR studio, but really evolving in building out a very interesting technology platform for the future of engagement with virtual reality content. So the idea is, if we have time, we'll do both. If not, we'll start with the first part of the conversation. The second part was more what we think VR might look like on 10 years from now, how we're thinking about moving the business in that direction. But we thought what would be fun is to start a little bit with the first part, talking about our experiences and some of the things that we've seen. Not that we're always taking all sorts of drugs in order to come up with creativity around it. As a preamble, and I mentioned this when we started, is what you're seeing right now in this moment. You're only actually probably seeing 30%. Your brain is only processing about 30% of the visual input that's coming in and actually registering. The rest is in the brain working in microseconds, creating pictures and filling in the gaps. Because if you were to take all of this information simultaneously at 100%, your brain would just go.
How many of you have tried VR? Okay, that's okay. Good on psychedelics.
So just to put some numbers to that, that read in one study is the amount of information coming into your eye is about 10 gigabytes per second. The amount of information that actually gets deposited in your conscious brain is about 100,000 bytes per second. So the amount of data loss is actually massive. And the way information deposits in your brain is through a confirmation bias, which is, I know this, I've seen that glass before, that looks like a glass, it kind of connects to that glass, okay, now I know that is a glass, or that is a table. So there's a lot of fuzzy logic happening in how information is deposited in the brain. And then it turns out that anywhere, depending on what study you look at, between 50 to 70% of our memory is actual visual. So we have a tremendous amount of what we remember and what is stored as our experiences is actually visual. So with a very simple view on supposedly how the brain works, then you get into why VR is so effective and why psychedelics also is incredibly powerful. And on the VR side, it's a neural hijack. You're suddenly getting immersed in these worlds. Sometimes they could be close to experiences that you've had or radically different, but somehow they start to feel very real. In psychedelics, you're getting a change in chemistry and perception of the brain, just altering how information is coming in, and alternate realities or real realities are being created. So this guy has way more experience than I do, but I had, the first time I took LSD was actually at South by Southwest this year. So I had never done drugs. I had tried a couple things, but I'd never done any type of psychedelic drugs. And there were two or three things that to me were very bizarre. And not with the shape-shifting and different things, but one is how time changed. Like the speed of time morphed. So when I thought it was half an hour, suddenly I looked at my watch, it was actually 3 minutes. So really having this sensation that time is moving at a different thing, and it all has to do with how this drug is actually changing my perception, because obviously time continues. And then getting to a stage where there were quite a few moments that I had no idea what the actual difference was between what was real and what was not real. And we're walking down the street, and Austin is a strange place, especially during South by Southwest. We're walking down the street, and 7 midgets walk into a bar. And in the previous bar, I was just looking at how people would shift from being like the Incredible Hulk size to really small. And did 7 midgets just actually walk into that room? Or did I morph these people in my brain and put them in there? And then Nico and this other friend Brooks said, no, actually those were 7 babies walking to the bottom. So anyways, I'm gonna cut off here. I'll let Nico talk a little bit of experience, and then really talk about what actually is reality, where virtual reality comes into play, where psychedelics come into play, and how that changes the way we might understand the world, ourselves, and not just sort of pure escapism as the use of drugs and other things.
Yeah, I think that the fun discussion here is the how reality is built. And I come from many mentors and philosophies and readings, kind of platonic and objectivist, and like, you know, a glass is a glass and it can be anything else, and a table is a table, and that's kind of what we all agree on. We all agree that that's a glass and that's a table, and that's how we're able to communicate somehow. But the fun part is when you start discovering that there are way many layers and that your perception can change. And I think in that regard is where psychedelics and VR are very similar, because they can affect your brain into, you know, tricking you into thinking things that are not there are actually there, or giving you vertigo when you're on a virtual roller coaster, or changing your perception of time. You know, in VR, for example, at some point, you know, it's not super realistic yet. It tricks your brain, but still you know that's not reality. Although in 10 years, 15 years, it's going to be as real as reality. You're going to be seeing this, and it's going to have super high resolution. You're going to be able to touch. Eventually, it'll be connected to your brain. So we are on the path to creating the Matrix in the next 2-3 decades. And when that happens, it's going to be amazing, because our whole concept of humanity is going to need to be rethink. If I can create a virtual reality of Rome in 2,000 years ago, and bring you there, and you live there for, let's say, 20 hours, that's a memory. I mean, your brain has been there. You have been in Rome 2,000 years ago, and you keep that as a memory of something that has happened to you during that context. So literally, you travel back in time, and we can start questioning what time is. And again, time is something that passes, but we put numbers to this. We've decided that the day has 24 slots and all this, but time is super relative. When you're young, time passes longer. As you grow, time starts to pass faster. Why is that? Because you have way more knowledge, way more things to rely on. You look back and you have 30 or 40 or 50 years behind, and compared to that, time passes faster. So it's very interesting to me, and I think psychedelics have been doing this for centuries, but it's very interesting how VR, which is way more mainstream, and it will become something that we will all experience. Some of you have experienced psychedelics, some of you will in the future. It's something that you usually don't do, you're scared, you don't know how it works. There's a lot of fear about what that would be. VR is going to be a very common thing. We will all experience it in schools and work. It's going to be the next platform. So how that will change our perception of humanity, how that will change our perception of time, what will happen when we start traveling in time, what will happen when we can record our actions. Just imagine I put a camera here, or even in the future my eyes will be recording this, and it's going to be as real as this that we're seeing. And some of you might even be just holograms connecting from Shanghai and from Buenos Aires. And this collective memory, which is not real because some of you are holograms and I'm recording it from here with a different perspective, I'm going to be able to come back to that. I'm going to be able to put on my headset in 5 years and relive this moment as it happened. And I might even change it, which is what we do with memories. I might just I don't like how the sun is getting there. I'm going to change that. I'm going to influence the environment. I'm going to put more light in there because it's a bit dark. Or I'm going to put a soundtrack to it. And suddenly, we're doing the same that we do with our memories. We leave things. And I assure you that none of your memories that you have in your mind is how it really happened. What you do is you relive it and you reconstruct it in your brain, and you add details and subtract something, and you can go back to that. But it's going to be very interesting because you're going to be able to go back to these memories and also bring other people back into your memories. And what does that mean? Am I reading your mind and being able to get into it, even if it's afterwards? So,
yeah, I guess one of the to just start a little bit of a discussion is if some input into your brain is electronic, does it mean that it's not real? And therefore you've got this distinction of what it's like to live in real life and then what it's like to live in digital worlds. We have a pioneering cyborg that has chips inputted in her body that are giving her seismic data of the Earth moving. Because it's technology, does it mean that that's not real? She's actually feeling it, and she's probably changing the way she perceives everything because of this technology bit. So is there really a division between what you experience in real life and then what reality can be augmented by technology, or not? As a question.
Can you say the last sentence you said? Can you repeat the last one?
So the question is really, is there a boundary line between reality as you experience it normally with the senses, the five senses that we have, or reality that starts to get augmented through technology, so you start experiencing? Is that as real as the other reality that you live, that's not augmented by technology? Is there a boundary there, or not?
That's a good question.
No, I don't think there will be any boundaries between these two generators of that what we perceive as reality. It will become absolutely normal to live in my personal reality, and we have to accept that our basic concept of one reality will completely disappear. So everybody will have its own world to live in, and there will be connection between these worlds, maybe from haptics or something like that, but we will create our own reality.
But isn't there a difference if I'm sitting in a national park in Yosemite, surrounded by the trees, and Nico is, at the airport in Shanghai in his Yellowstone National Park? Isn't my experience more real than his?
I think that when you get the sensory.
Just like, who cares?
I agree with that.
Does anybody care that there's a difference? Are there protectionists of the real human experience here, or is everybody happy that 20 years from now?
There should be a warning sign. In general, there should be. I mean, sure, the future is really exciting, and it's true that, everybody talks and talks, but when things happen, everything's different. I'll give you an example. Right now, just a sec, but I really want to hear it. When you talk to people these days about cybernetics and stuff, it sounds freaky to them, and they would say, I would never, ever put that in my body. But that's what they said about breast implants in the 80s. And this is way...
Not in Colombia.
This is way more powerful, because you say, I'll never do it. Then you go to work, they tell you, listen, we're going to have to let you go because Mike works 10 times faster than you with his speed chip. And I respect the fact that you don't want to upgrade, but I need to feed my 10,000 kids. So get the fuck out of here, right? So that's a problem. And I think a day after, when reality hits, you get not one chip, 2 chips.
Okay.
That's what I think happens.
Let me tell you a quote that I love and then challenge you a bit. There's a quote from Arthur C. Clarke that says that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from money, and that it tends to be invisible. So my challenge to you regarding that is, I'll give you all the money I have in this bank tomorrow if you can prove this is reality.
You give me all the money in the bank,
If you can prove this, that you call reality, is actually real.
I'll take the money, and then
So,
I agree with this completely. I think once the inputs are indistinguishable from what our senses can input into our brain, then that reality is reality, and we'll all have a million different realities, and we can live in worlds that are
And the-
indistinguishable from what we're
And the
living
truth
now.
is, if in this very small amount, and I'm talking about this in the Ignite talk tonight, it's the Fermi paradox, but if in the very little amount of time that we have been alive, regarding for how long the universe have existed, our civilization is not very advanced technologically. We have advanced a lot, but compared to what we can do in the future, it's very small. And truth is, not being very advanced, like, I mean, 200 years ago we worked this, in carriages with horses, and now we're going to the moon and Mars. In only, a very little amount of time, we have been able to develop a technology, which is VR, which is in a very early stage, but that is powerful enough to trick the brain now, and in probably 10, 20 years, it's going to be powerful enough to be like what we are seeing. So it's most likely that before us there was another civilization that had enough time to develop a technology advanced enough and enough computational power to create something like this. So there are high chances that we are a simulation.
You're framing like the problem is a new one triggered by technology, but it's not. Because if you think about it, Don Quixote, he's a guy, he's triggered by technology, which is the Gutenberg's print press, by books creating a reality, and he enters that reality and somehow starts thinking that this reality is the real world. And then that's one of the best models ever and novels ever. So this is something we know. The brain is a closed system and can be triggered by external reality and somehow creates words. That's something new. I mean, that's something new. So the point is, to which extent virtual reality can emulate the links to humanity. So, I mean, do you think virtual reality can emulate empathy between humans, or the feelings that you have when you are with real humans, with hormones and everything?
That's what I mean. So think about it like this. Let's imagine this is virtual reality. A very advanced virtual reality. And what we can assume is that this is a pervasive virtual reality in which each one of us is a conscience and we're all living in this virtual reality together, or that this is your virtual reality. So maybe all of us are just part of this simulation. The only real human being is you. You're in a pod in another universe, and all of us are being generated. You can generate that. We are just affecting your brain, and you feel all of this as real. And you go outside and you can touch the grass, and it's completely real.
That could perfectly be.
And this will be able to happen in the next 3-4 decades. So
it's
the answer is yes.
if this is a simulation, it's much more likely that I'm the only human here. Or the only...
You're a werewolf. You're a werewolf.
Are you sure?
The only point of awareness.
So,
yeah.
Another thing I wanted to, so linking again the static psychedelics, and there's a philosopher I really like called Terence McKenna, and he investigated a lot on psychedelics and language. I use him a lot on my VR talks. He used to say that humanity advances or evolves as fast as our language does. And his theory was that basically we need words to understand concepts. He always used the example of an Amazonian tribe which doesn't have a word to say tomorrow, or they don't have words for the past. So they live in the present. And because they don't have a word to say yesterday, the concept of yesterday, they don't understand it. It's not in their brain. It's like us. We count. 1, 2, 3, 4. They only have like 3 words to count. 1, 2, and many. So concepts like 8 or 100, they don't understand. The same way, and this is like, it's easy to understand from our perspective because we have the words. But let me give you an example of somebody who has more words than we do. Inuit people. They have 37 words for snow, which means they can see 37 different layers that we are not perceiving. We just see snow, it's all white, it's all the same. These guys are seeing reality, are seeing 37 more layers of reality than we are. which
That's
is
because they're looking for it because they need to survive.
well, they have decided that they are gonna, be more accurate on 37. I'm pretty sure there are 37 differences in that zone that make them be able to name them. So one of the things that I always say is that VR is not, and it's the same, I think it's the same as psychedelics. It's not a new technology, which it is at the same time. It's not a new medium, it is. It's a new language. It's something that will teach us new words to understand. And for the ones of you who have tried psychedelics, it's that same feeling. When you are in psychedelics, in a deep trip, you start seeing and understanding things that you didn't even know were in your brain. It starts affecting you and talking to you. Might be a small guy talking to you, or it just might be a natural conscience and you feel it's nature talking to you, or it might be something else. But it's revealing you truths that you didn't even know existed. It's showing you how the universe is made. It's showing you incredible. That's why I would strongly recommend you guys to try it at least once, if you can, because it will it will open doors of perception that you don't even know were there. It will make you see way many different layers of reality that you're not perceiving in your everyday lives. And what I feel is that VR can lead to us. Obviously, it's not going to affect chemically your brain in the way that psychedelics do, but it's gonna allow us to create realities that we can't even imagine. It's going to take us to places that we can't even conceive yet. And that will definitely shift how we see the world, how we see each other, how we understand time, how we understand our place in the universe.
And to sort of the comment that you had made, just not to leave it hanging there, is in the VR industry, a lot of people and a lot of us talk about VR as an empathy tool. It is dramatic how VR can because of what I mentioned at the beginning of how the brain works and you connect with visual imagery, which is fuzzy memories, that generates emotion and feeling. And there's even one project that we've been working on. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but there's this organization in LA called the Hidden Tears Project. And their mission is to raise awareness on sex trafficking and human slavery in the US, which is about 300,000 cases a year. Rather than do a documentary, they take the approach of telling stories and using fiction to raise awareness and about the discussion. And we've been working with them for about a year in creating a VR series about this topic. So if suddenly in this fictionalized story, you're the dad of this 11-year-old girl that gets kidnapped, and then you're in Mexico, and you're seeing what they're doing, the way that impacts you emotionally as content is tremendous, because suddenly you're part of the story. It's fiction, but you're the dad. So VR is being used for policy change, for educating politicians to raise their sensitivity across a bunch of different issues, because people have gotten desensitized to a lot of different forms of content.
Yeah, but my point is, what's the basic difference between this virtual reality and reading novels?
I would say like a drug, it's easier.
Yeah, but
You put the headset on, you can play,
basic difference.
and
Can I counter approach that for a second? Because you talk about it as an empathy tool, but to me it sounds very effective as a desensitizing tool, and B, possibly a gateway to mind control in a way. Because sure, you can do so many great things, but if you're talking about so many changes that can actually physically can change the brain, you can manipulate it, but
You can use planes to travel or to drop bombs. Technology is neutral.
I agree, and I love that word, but I don't have planes with bombs in my house, do I? But I will have a VR set, won't I? And I won't know a lot about it compared to what you know about it. I will, of course. But let's say we're a user, right?
You have cell phone and computer it can do the same to you. So any information you decide, you filter. You decide what information you dive
Yeah, but
into.
you're treating me with so much intelligence and everything. You think everybody is so responsible for their
No,
consciousness and
that's
awareness?
fine. There's a lot of dumb people, but again, it's
And it's
you.
the internet a lot. You know?
Couple of thoughts. The first one is that, I mean, if we're talking about reality, at the end of the day, reality is a fabrication of our own minds. So we are perceiving things based on the way our minds reproduces them. So if we are talking about virtual reality in the same way, what's the difference? And in the moment in which we're gonna have something that is able to make us feel and perceive in the same way as our own brain does, how we're gonna be distinguishing it. So I think the main difference I see, even with psychedelics, is that is the architect or the control. So when you're taking psychedelics, at the end of the day, you know you took the decision, but you know that it's your own mind that is fabricating the concepts. But in the moment in which you're using a software is being designed by somebody else. So in the moment in which you enter virtual reality, you can make choices for sure, but the number of choices you can make, it's limited, because otherwise it would require too much software to be developed. While the perception that we have, which might be fake, is that within our own mind, we have illimited sort of options. So the problem that I see there is effectively, in the moment in which you know you are in a virtual reality standing, you are giving away control of your own life. And I think that is the main barrier. It's an emotional barrier more than anything else. It's not a software barrier, it's nothing else, it's just emotion.
I would challenge both assumptions. Eventually, software will have enough, or our computing will have enough capabilities to create a reality like this, as complex as the world that we live in. So it's not true that it's going to be limited, and eventually it might even be linked to your brain, and our brain is going to be the ones creating this software. So you're going to live in a virtuality created by your own brain that you can control. You just expand the capabilities of your brain, or being able to control them better. Regarding the second part, there's a very fun theory I will also talk about it very briefly tonight, but Terence McKenna, at some point after having all these psychedelic experiences and finding that the only thing in common of all the psychedelic plants, not the ones made in the lab, but the natural ones, was that they do two things to you. They dissolve your ego, so you can merge with, your body disappears, your conscience disappears, you kind of merge with the universe. And they all have a voice that talks to you, that reveals truths about you, about the universe, about everything else, and that allows you to heal or to overcome situations or to understand the world. And he had this funky theory that it has been proven that some spores can survive in very harsh conditions, and some plant spores have been found in meteorites. And he had this theory that maybe mushrooms or ayahuasca or all this were just a mean of alien civilizations to communicate with us, which could be. It could be that they just put that there, and that's the way in which we open our minds to talk to them.
Like a walkie-talkie plant?
Yeah. And truth is, when you take these plants, the way in which you see the universe and how everything works and what's your place in this universe and what are the relationships between humans, it's like talking to God or whatever you want to call it.
Let's do this.
Can I say something with what you were saying? Is how are you sure that you're already you're not this software right now and you're creating it as well? I mean, the Buddhists literally talk about exactly this exact thing, right? They say that you're living in your own universe that you create, and they talk about it in a mystical way, but that could well be some artificial intelligence creating a very basic architecture, and then you're just assigning the variables and living on it like in real time, right? And it's cool what you said, that all this technology, the difference between perceiving if it's real or if it isn't is that if we beat our ability to like sensorily differentiate between reality and what's not. But as he was saying, at some point technology is going to like grow, right? And at the moment, like in VR, we have platforms that walk with you, so you can walk in VR. There's haptic feedback suits that allow you to grab things and feel it. And talking about smell, there's even a machine that you put different cartridges in and is now like can produce any smell you want. So this is like obviously any intelligent human would be able to tell the difference. But like in 10 years, I don't know when you're going to be able to start telling the difference, So
The point is the choice. At a certain point, you will have the choice to decide whether you want to enter the virtual reality world and live in there or stay here. And I think the problem is that whenever so let's say we start from the assumption that we think today we are not in in a software. Okay, we are agreeing. Okay, at a certain point, if you want to step into virtual reality, the problem is going to be control. Who's going to be in control of what you perceive in there? What do you feel, because of the basic assumption that we're not part of a software production today, that we are in control. Whenever you step into a new reality, who's going to be in control? That's a question, and it's more of an emotional challenge, because whenever you're in there, you're going to feel exactly like it's here.
I agree, but
That's
you're so right. But you didn't. Oh, sorry. No, I just want to say I totally agree. But I'm saying you didn't create oxygen or nature or whatever, so that could already be the software that was like created before you.
That was the difference will always be that things are alive in real life. I mean, life is in real life. Virtual reality.
So no, that's the thing. We don't know. And the moment you create artificial intelligence that can have a conscience, and that because of software it breathes and has organs, that's as real as this. And that will happen within the next 2 to 3
created.
days.
I mean,
Yeah, that God. I mean, we talk about God. We say somebody created us. Maybe it was just a person.
Maybe we created.
Exactly.
There's no telling that in the future there could be worlds or virtual reality worlds that would be even more complicated than, or as complicated, where you can spend 40 years roaming around and learning new things. And even now, people are getting addicted to video games where they play for a week straight. Imagine if you will lose track of time. Like if you were just exploring, you could feel like a younger person, because in the world you could have a certain level of strength that you could feel, and your age and time would be completely changed. You could go back in time to the Roman era. So
There's, I mean, this, I'll just make a quick comment and then over there. I mean, Nico is a huge believer and fan of all of this philosophy. I am split brain, and there's part of it that I find incredibly exciting, and there's another part of it that I find it incredibly scary. Because intuitively, I still feel that there's got to be a difference that matters between a world that is entirely technology enabled and what we. And I was talking to Nicole, who's about to embark on a trip for 2 or 3 months, and asking the question about what is it to be human. And the reason I connect with this, because I was talking to her, I think there's certain things that technology tries to get rid of, which are core parts of the human condition that I think is part of the difference, which is our errors, our mistakes, our fallibility, all those aspects that technology is trying to get rid of because it's bad, and we improve the software and get rid of the mistakes, might actually be the things that make us human, that help define the experience of the reality that we have, because we can't control it. There's the illusion of control, but you don't control your decisions in real life. I mean, you don't even control what you search on Google. You're conditioned in different ways. But
No, thank you. I just wanted to say basically the same thing. I'm totally fascinated by the technology, and I love it. And I'm totally on your side, but I'm asking myself the question, okay, if we are able to create a perfect world in VR, why would you go back? And wouldn't you just realize that reality sucks compared to this?
Why is that bad? Maybe we can design a world in where.
But what? Okay, let's say.
Don't worry, advertisements will ruin it for you somehow.
So I think life is also about dealing with serendipity, mediocrity, and everything. And I kind of love and hate the feeling that I can control everything, and I can. Would I come here with all of you, or would I rather be in another place? I have to make decisions.
You can be with all of us in another place.
I mean, that's fine, and I think a level of serendipity is amazing, but you get to choose. You decide not to live in a dictatorship, if you can. You decide not to get together with toxic people. You decide, so you kind of filter the things that you really don't like, and what if we could filter a little more? We could filter just, just relate to people that you believe in, that not that think the same that you think, but at least where you can communicate and talk, speak the same language, and are not hurting other people or.
I avoid toxic people in real life as well.
What about the vulnerability?
that's exactly what
Thank you, because I prefer someone else talking.
I totally don't agree with the error parts. machines are perfectly happy to do that, to make errors. And if you look at genetic programming and genetic algorithms, they inherently make mistakes or errors in order to find better solutions. What is the difference between the machine and the human error is that the human error might be fatal. So we're very, very vulnerable.
But we might make the same mistake over and over and over and over and over and over again and not learn from it. And the computer
It feels like a
very
variance that might hurt you badly. You know, it's much easier for a human to die or to have a miserable life due to errors than for a machine. So if I put myself in a situation where I'm not vulnerable anymore, because within this environment I cannot die because I can always log out. That might be the core of the difference. Because now if I
But maybe the
Why
fact
not?
that you might actually die is what gives meaning and purpose to what you're living, because you know that it's finite. It's like, what do you do with that time? If that's indefinite, and if that is,
Well, that's a bit of a short-sighted forecast of the future, because eventually we won't die. We're walking towards this reality, regardless if it is or not. We're walking towards the point where we're going to be immortal. We're going to download our consciousness on a hard drive.
we don't want to be.
No, that's fine. But the thing is, you will have the choice. And that's the happy accident that will happen.
I think that's the boundary, and I hate to quote The Matrix, but when it goes to the point where everybody's just so happy and it's a narcissistic where nothing can go wrong, that's where you'll be able to tell where the boundary of VR and maybe reality is. Because they said in the movie where everybody was extremely happy, it was a failure because everybody realized they were in a program.
Yeah, but we saw
So
that
the
movie, so
failure-
we already prepared the program.
Sure, but the failure is the part of being human.
So one of the things that teach you in futurism or forecasting of the future is that we tend to look at the future from the present, and that's a mistake. So we're trying to imagine what a future in which we're living virtual look like, assuming our brains will keep the same. So from that perspective, it will be shitty because we won't have that feeling of like this is gonna end, so therefore I enjoy it, whatever. But what we need to think is that we might make an evolutionary step, and then suddenly when our consciousness is freed from our bodies and the physicality and all the hassles of the lives that we have and all the good things as well, maybe we start to expand and understand the universe in such a subtle way and in so many different things that what you're talking about won't matter anymore at all. And that's a possibility as well. So sometimes when we forecast, we should try to forecast from the future.
yeah, we've got about 3 minutes left, because I'll make sure we end on time, so.
I think we're having, like, from step backwards and coming back to the very beginning of the conversation of the definition of reality. And I think you said something very true, that I think now we're having two different conversations. That one is how we perceive reality and what we do with it. And the second one is to create a virtual reality that we can use for anything we want, basically. So from the definition of reality, I think there's something that I share, is that reality is what comes to you in the real life. I don't know if the world is this one, but still when you get to the virtual reality world, whatever it is, whatever happens to you there, at the end of the day, you just take out the goggles and just walk
So
on this.
if I get a FaceTime call from my son, who's in Madrid, he's 5 years old, is that not real?
In my opinion, it is, because it's what comes to you. And at the moment you try to change things, we actually say it ourselves. We
So
change the
if I
reality.
put a Snapchat filter on him so he looks like a puppy, it's no longer real?
No, I think it's real too, because it's what comes
Well,
to
wait,
you.
let me challenge you one more time. What if all your memories and everything that you have lived in your previous 30 or 40 years, it's just programmed? And now, imagine you just fall off a cliff and die, and your software resets. And tomorrow you wake up again with all those previous memories. So what you're saying is, this is training with reality, but what if it's just, software?
Yeah, but in that sense,
What if you can come out of
Then I wanna
what you
know.
call reality, and when you die, you actually just reset the system?
yes,
You
but you
take it
still,
out.
with that hypothesis, I think it's a great vision, but you still have somewhere what you said before, on some planets with the body flux somehow. And this is real
No, we don't know.
Okay,
We're
so-
assuming that what we understand as the universe is somewhere, somehow.
I've got to keep to Yossi's fourth rule of ending on time. So just one closing comment. Obviously, this leads to a lot of discussion. You know, basically, I think any of us that are in any of these frontier technologies or any type of technology, it is absolutely fundamental to be asking the question about how does this actually impact us as humans? Because if we lose sight of that question, who knows what can evolve? Whatever the answer is, but at least stopping to ask that question I think is fundamentally important. Because we might be creating something that might not go the way we want, but stopping and thinking and having this conversation is critical. So thank you very much